Hello and a very warm welcome back to HuwsNursery, and I'm here with Will Williams. So Will has entered the competition last year.
Yes.
And when did you find out that you won?
So it would have been the end of July.
We're basically going to be talking a bit about young people in horticulture, because I think stereotypically it's seen as something for the older generation, and I don't know if you agree with that, but the places where we differentiate is that you kind of come from an urban area and I come from a rural area, but I think we want to get across how horticulture can be for anyone of any age. So I think the first thing that everyone will want to know is, how did you get into it?
Well, so I left school when I was 16 and then went and worked for a landscaper for about two and a half years. And then from there went and studied horticulture. We touched on design very briefly, and I absolutely fell in love with it. It was instantly something that I knew that I really wanted to do and focus on. And then I wanted to study a little bit more about that particular subject, so I went to the London College of Garden Design, where I learned to see and think as a designer, sort of with mass and void and sort of different colours, textures and materials. So from there, after graduation, probably about three and a half years ago, I decided to start off my own, make the big leap, and the rest is history.
And what's your favourite thing about garden design?
I think the freedom to be able to do what you want to. I mean, sometimes you have particular clients where you're slightly restricted to what you can do, and the garden is slightly restricting, but all in all you have your own impression on that space.
And what I love about gardening, and even though you do very different things, is that there's a lot of creativity with it, and it's having that freedom, and I think that's something that isn't really encouraged for people and young people in schools. And so what do you think, in your opinion, is missing maybe with the current school system? Why aren't more young people getting into it?
Well, when I was sort of that age, I had no idea that it even existed. Sort of garden design, I just didn't know that it was a thing until I went to Chelsea Flower Show and saw that this is a massive industry. And so I think that for me, the shows opened up the doors to this amazing world. So I think that helped me. I think in terms of helping others through it and sort of offering those experiences, possibly schools can go to the shows, colleges and things like that can be opened up to these amazing pieces of horticulture.
So if there's anyone who's, I believe, under 28 who wants to enter this competition, which is actually in a month's time, the deadline is the 23rd of November, to become the RHS Young Designer and to take part in it, what do you need to do?
Well, so at the submission stage, the RHS will ask you to fill out the form. It might look quite daunting at the beginning, but you sort of need to mention a little bit about your garden, what the narrative to it is, and sort of the key materials. And in terms of plans, it would be good to have sort of a layout, a couple of perspectives, and a couple of elevations as well, just to give the whole effect of the garden.
If you're successful with it, you get a grant. For this competition, it's £11,500, which is a significant amount of money, especially for someone who's young, just wanting to start out in it. Or maybe you have been doing a bit and you've got a bit of experience. But what has winning the competition meant for you and your business?
It's been great. I mean, it's been absolutely fantastic. We've had a vast amount of inquiries from all over the UK and a couple overseas as well. So it's an amazing platform to be able to sort of show your work, show what you can do. The RHS give you a lot of support and advice along the way. You're up at Tatton, which is a wonderful place. The park is beautiful.
Nice.
And no, it has been brilliant.
What would you say to a young person who might be thinking about this in the future, because it happens every year, this competition? If someone's young and maybe in an urban area, what would you tell them to try and get into gardening? Because sometimes it's quite hard in such a busy, bustling life to do that. What kind of tips would you give to someone who's got a bit of interest to get started?
Well, so in terms of sort of indoor growing. I actually do a lot of it, so sort of house plants and things like that. I've got quite a few of them. There's also different growing techniques that you can use for inside. There are certain things that you can purchase to make that a little bit easier for you. But in terms of design, I mean, I always find inspiration from larger spaces such as RHS Garden Wisley, and having a fantastic sort of array of spaces around you always helps.
And what's a moment like after you've designed a garden and you see it in flesh, as to say, what's that feeling like?
It's brilliant. I mean, in terms of sitting and enjoying the garden, I mean, that's the one thing that I really liked about Tatton and the garden that we created up there, because we put our everything into it, absolutely everything. Yeah. And we were on site at 6 a.m, didn't leave till I think it was 8 o'clock in the evening, and every day for about 2.5 weeks. And just to be able to sit in the garden and enjoy something that you've seen on paper for a very long time, in real life is great.
So I know with you, not only did you get the grant, but you managed to find other support. So how would that work?
So in terms of finding sort of support for our garden that we did up in Tatton, I went and talked to quite a few suppliers that I use on a day-to-day basis, and went to them, and with the opportunity, with the garden, presented it to them, and fortunately they said that looks like something we'd love to get involved in. And as it's for the Young Designer of the Year competition, I think a lot more suppliers are open to helping out the sort of the younger generation of sort of garden design and horticulture to come through the ranks, and that's what I'm seeing more and more.
Yeah, I would agree with that, because I think that the industry is really realising that there's a lot of requirement for younger people and the next generation, and perhaps maybe getting a bit worried about not enough young people coming through. So it's almost the best opportunity for young people to get started, because so many people who are experienced in knowledge just want to help us out. And I think that that's been a really huge help, because maybe if we were getting into this and we were 30 or 40, for me at least, the support would maybe have been 5% of what it is.
A little bit different, yeah.
You know, so age really matters, and I think it's just about taking the opportunity. And I think even if there's a local RHS garden near you or something, even if it's your neighbour, just to start getting some designs going, and speaking to people. I think there's so many different aspects, and we need to dispel the myth that a gardener is someone who pots around in their shed and is old and drinks tea all the time.
Yeah.
And I think there's just such a great opportunity for young people these days. So the final question I have for you is, where do you see yourself in maybe 5 or 10 years time?
So 5 years time, I'd like to see myself having been at Chelsea Flower Show, my practice to be growing. We've got quite a strategic 5-year plan for my personal company, and so in terms of growing that, it's sort of, we're putting on quite a big expansion phase over the next 2 years, and looking to move premises, and looking to start bringing in people to come and help, which would be great, you know. I mean, it's something that I've always wanted, and I mean, running my own business, I absolutely love.
Yeah, that's great. So thank you very much for watching, and good luck. And if you have any single bit of advice to anyone who's entering, I know it's putting you on the spot, but what would that be?
Give it a go.
Exactly. It's so true. Just do it.